That's a home crowd, booing their own player. And he'd just done something good. 12 months earlier, this was the runner-up for the best player on the planet. So how does a man fall from second in the world to booed at home in a single year? This is a story about a legacy coming apart, and the big question underneath it, did he pull it apart himself, or did the world do it for him? It all traces back to one night, the 28th of October, 2024. Hold that date. Everything in this story splits into before it and after it, but a fall only means something from a height. So first, let me show you the height. Summer 2024. Picture the best version of a footballer you can imagine. That was Vinícius Júnior.
¡Qué gol de Vinícius! ¡Gol de crack para lanzar, para celebrar!
He'd just torn through a season almost nobody alive could match. 13 league goals, a title, and then the big one.
Given away by Madsen. Bellingham. Here's Vinícius Júnior. Great chance! 2-0! And the young man who was raised in the favelas of Rio de Janeiro scores for the second time in a Champions League final in the white of Real Madrid. And number 15 is surely theirs now.
He scored in the Champions League final at Wembley in a 2-0 win over Borussia Dortmund. Then they named him the best player in the whole competition.
Big one. The best men's player at this, the 15th annual Beyond Development's Globe Soccer Dubai Awards is Vinícius Júnior.
The biggest club, the biggest night, the biggest stage, and he owned all three. There's no higher shelf in club football. He was on it. So the Ballon d'Or talk began.
Ballon d'Or! Ballon d'Or! Ballon d'Or! Ballon d'Or! Ballon d'Or!
The award for the single best player alive. And it didn't feel like a hope. It felt like a delivery. Everyone assumed his name was already on it, including him. The higher you climb, the longer the drop. Vinícius was standing at the very top. He just couldn't see that the floor was about to move. Then came the 28th of October, and an announcement from France that changed everything. And in 2024, everyone in Madrid was certain it was coming home. Then France Football announced the winner.
Here, George.
The 2024 Ballon d'Or France Football winner is Rodrigue.
It wasn't Vinícius. A midfielder named Rodri had taken it. Vinícius finished second. Real Madrid were furious. They believed their man had been robbed. So the whole club boycotted the ceremony and simply didn't show up.
Ballon d'Or for the first time, but that decision has left Real Madrid rather unhappy.
Real Madrid staged a boycott of the awards after they learned that Vinícius Júnior was not going to win it.
Yeah.
Vinícius posted 3 words online. They're not ready. And this is where the story turns. Not a bad game, not an injury, a prize he didn't get on the 28th of October, 2024. Now, I want to be careful here. Nobody can prove what one night does to a man's mind. But many analysts believe this was the trigger. One former Spain international said it plainly. That's the interpretation. Here's the fact. He'd been told he was the best. The whole sport seemed to agree. Then, on one night, it said no. It's not hard to imagine what that does to a person. But before we get to what happened next, you need to understand something the other videos skip. Because Vinícius wasn't only fighting for a trophy, he was fighting something much uglier. You cannot tell this story honestly and leave this out. For years, Vinícius has been the target of racist abuse in Spanish stadiums.
Vinícius Júnior has accused Benfica's Argentine forward Gianluca Prestiani of racially abusing him during a heated Champions League clash between Real Madrid and Benfica.
In 2024, a Spanish court convicted 3 men for racist abuse aimed at him.
Okay, let's bring you this breaking news and a first criminal conviction for racist abuse of a footballer in Spain. 3 Valencia fans have been jailed for 8 months for abusing Vinícius Júnior. during a La Liga game in May 2023.
It was the first conviction of its kind in Spanish football, and it was far from the only reported incident.
The breaking news is about Vinícius Júnior, and we can tell you that 4 people have been arrested on suspicion of hanging a Vinícius Júnior effigy off a bridge, okay? These reports coming in from Spanish police.
Vinícius has spoken about the toll himself. He once said the abuse was damaging Spanish football's image, and that he felt more and more alone. Let him say it in his own voice.
Jogos com a cabeça centrada no jogo para que eu possa fazer o melhor para minha equipe, e às vezes nem sempre é possível, então eu tenho que me concentrar muito todos os dias.
Now hold that in your head for the rest of this video. When people say he fights everyone, ask what you'd be like carrying that, week after week, in your early 20s. This is not an excuse for a single bad game or a sulk on the touchline. It's context. And it's the context almost every downfall video conveniently forgets. Now, with that in mind, let's look at what actually happened to his football. Here's the stat that made headlines. A run of 14 matches across roughly 3 months of the 2025-26 season, where Vinícius didn't score a single goal. For most players, a dry spell is normal. For a Ballon d'Or contender, that run is a crisis. And the boos you heard at the start of this video, that's when they began. But here's what almost every other video about him gets wrong. They tell you he collapsed. The numbers say something more interesting. Look at the actual output. In his so-called disaster seasons after the snub, he still posted around 20 goals a campaign, and close to 20 assists. His goal contributions barely dropped from his peak year. Read that again. The goals didn't vanish. So what actually collapsed? 2 things, his consistency and his aura. He went from deciding finals to vanishing for weeks, then lighting up for one night. Same totals, just spread out in a way that felt like decline. For a genius, that flicker is its own kind of fall. And while he flickered, the man right next to him caught fire. Rodrigo found form just as Vinícius lost his rhythm. Suddenly, the untouchable star had competition for his own shirt. But the football was only half of it. Off the pitch, things were getting louder. A slump is one thing, falling out with the people around you is another. And Vinícius started falling out with almost everyone. It started with his own manager in the biggest game of the season. Subbed off in a Clásico, and he lost it, on camera, for the world to see. Reports later described this clash as one of several factors that contributed to Xabi Alonso losing his job. Not the only reason, but part of the picture. Then came the Club World Cup and a semi-final against Paris. One Spanish outlet described his performance there in a single, brutal word. Unrecognizable, disconnected, and flat. And then the fans, the people who used to sing his name, they started to whistle, booed by his own crowd, right after scoring. Sit with how strange that is. That's not a reaction to one bad game. That's a relationship breaking in public. There were also unconfirmed reports of tension in the dressing room, with talk of friction between Vinícius and Kylian Mbappé. Take those with caution. They were never officially confirmed. A manager, a crowd, and maybe a teammate. When it's all at once, it stops looking like bad luck. And one more fight was brewing. This one about money and his entire future. Not long ago, a new Vinícius contract was a formality. The golden boy of the Bernabeu, tied down for a decade.
They know that his contract will be soon a topic for Real Madrid, so they want to discuss about Vinícius' contract in the coming months. When it will be, we will see, but we know that Real Madrid have this in their plans, as they did with Courtois, with Valverde, and many other players, key players for Real Madrid future. They want to extend these contracts also.
Simple. Not anymore. His deal runs out in June 2027. Talks for a new one started more than a year ago, and they stalled. For a player who is meant to be the future of the club, that silence is loud. And here's the hard number. On the 22nd of September 2025, France Football released the Ballon d'Or rankings. Vinícius finished 16th, 1 year after finishing second. Second to 16th. A drop of 14 places in 12 months. That isn't one fan's opinion. That's the people who vote on football's biggest prize, re-rating him in public. So he needed a stage, somewhere to remind the world exactly who he was. And that stage was already on the calendar, a World Cup, in the summer of 2026. This was supposed to be the redemption. Vinícius, leading Brazil, on the biggest stage on earth, a chance to silence all of it. And for a while, it worked. He was Brazil's best player.
Vini Júnior again. Vinícius Júnior lashes in the equaliser.
4 goals across the tournament. Man of the match in all 3 group games. This looked like the old Vinícius. Then, in July 2026, Brazil met Norway in the round of 16, and it fell apart.
Away from his man, shoulder up, and he's lifted it up for Haaland! Shoulder up. Haaland! Oh, wonderful!
Haaland scored twice. Brazil lost 2-1. A 5-time world champion, out in the round of 16. One of their earliest World Cup exits in decades. And here's the unfair part. Vinícius was still Brazil's best player at that tournament. The team failed around him, hit by injuries across its attack. But that didn't protect him. Because afterwards, a Brazil icon put the blame on his shoulders. And not just any icon. Ronaldo. The original Ronaldo. A Brazilian god, saying the golden boy came up short. When a legend that big questions you in public, the whole world hears it. And that tells you everything. Even 4 goals and 3 Man of the Match awards weren't enough. The bar for Vinícius sits somewhere no human can reach. To his credit, he didn't hide. He faced it directly. He apologized to the fans.
Torcida que mais uma vez acreditou na gente. Infelizmente, o futebol é assim, nem sempre a gente vai vencer. Eu sei que a gente tá tanto tempo sem vencer.
He promised to fight to bring Brazil back to the top. That's not a man who's given up. That's a man carrying a weight most of us will never feel. So let's answer the question this whole video asked. Has Vinícius Júnior destroyed his legacy? Honestly? No. Not yet. He's still in his mid-20s. He still posts 20 goals in seasons people call a disaster. The talent hasn't gone anywhere. The eye test still shows one of the most feared dribblers in Europe. But something did shift on the 28th of October. The arc bent. The player who was going to be an all-time great is now a player who might become a cautionary tale. And nobody yet knows which one he'll be. Here's the honest truth this title hides. Nobody handed him a manual on how to destroy a legacy. Some of the damage he did to himself. And some of it, the world did to him. Pulling those two apart is almost impossible. The winners write their own endings. Vinícius is still holding the pen. So now I want to hear from you. Is Vinícius finished, or does he still write the ending himself? And who should I put under the microscope next month? Comment your club and your all-time favorite player. I read every one. This is the first in a new series. Every month, one fallen star. And the next name is yours to pick. Want a story about a genius the whole world doubted? My breakdown of why Messi walks through games is next. Subscribe if you want football explained properly. No mob, no mockery. See you in the next one.